So my wife and I have a bit of a philosophy is that having a little bit of adversity in your life is actually really knowing that things won't come easy to you is perhaps one of the most important life lessons that you can internalize. And so we struggle often with knowing not necessarily in modern culture, performance is the only right. And this was, that there was definitely some degree of this in terms of when, 10,000 years or 100,000 years ago, when you're sort of foraging for your own food, if you didn't perform very well, you would certainly starve. You certainly wouldn't do very well. But there was a lot more forgiveness in your mind about, performing well, right? Like there was just days where you just go hungry and you would just have a little bit of adversity or a lot of bit of adversity, not a little. Um, and in modern culture, the only priority that is often made is how well you actually perform. One of the things that is ironic, it was one of the hardest cultural shock for my wife and I, being Canadians living in the United States, and still is today, is this, particularly the Southern United States. I think it's really much bigger thing. The only thing that actually matters is how well you actually perform. And everything is turned into a competition in the United States. It's kind of a weird, everything, right, is a competition. And yes, for sure that there was some of that, but where we grew up in Canada, there was more of a Scandinavian sensibility, right? It's a lot more communal in how you sort of viewed things. And if anybody was too much or succeeded too much, you sort of cut them down, right? Like that was the culture. And that's not good either. But the stressing on performance and being the best, and being the best of all you could be, was very an American thing. It is somewhat challenging because not everybody can be the best that you can be, right? And there are many different reasons. Everybody's got something, right? If you're a top performer, I remember reading about um, uh, Michael Phelps, and he was a top performing athlete in swimming. And he had a great deal of depression and anxiety, right, of dealing with this after the whole swimming was done, and sort of grappling with that. Right? And I understand why. That you are top of, top of the podium, and you have all of this fanfare, and all of a sudden you're like nobody once you're done, right? You're a has. And I understand where all of that depression and anxiety comes from, is because the stress on performance all of the time is that you really need to grapple with, what does it mean to have a little bit of adversity in your life? Or what does it mean not to perform? Not necessarily adversity, but you're in a group, you're not going to be the top anymore. And you're not going to be part of this elite club anymore. And most of us, I would say the majority, I would say 99.999% of us actually are part of the group where we never succeed, right? We're always, the best that we can be is a sixth or a seventh, or in my case, I was always last. Always last. That was just what I knew to grow up into until until high school. I started sort of finding my groove. Late high school, I was finding my groove. And then I sort of redefined myself and where I was. But by that time, it was already too late. I was like 15, 16, 17 years old. And when I was performing like that, I sort of ingrained, imprinted in me that I would just be last. And that was, and, I know the reasons now. Learning disabilities, sort of challenges like that. But if you don't have that, and coming back to this message from my wife and I, having adversity is important. Having a bit of a challenge is important. Know that for what you pick up, anything in your life, there's always going to be something that you have to fight against. And there always has to be a pushback repeatedly, not a pushback one, but a pushback repeatedly over and over and over, so that you can develop the skin of fighting against not you against everybody else. I don't like that, but you against nature, right? That there are these. And when I was doing my engineering program, it was stressed a lot that there are physical, like real barriers in nature that you cannot surpass. You can't go faster than the speed of light or speed of light. That there are real things that are limits to what we can actually do. And it's you as an individual that's always going to be pushing against nature and stressing that you will be fighting against that your whole life. And if you're not taught that, a little bit of adversity, a little bit of, all of the things that we have that people just don't like, right? Like things like shame, a little bit of guilt, a little bit of just all of those strong emotions that we have. If you don't have those and you don't fight against it, even depression, right? You know that you can fight against it and control it to the best of your ability. You can manage it, right? Like everything's about a process of managing so that you can do, at least for the time being, mediocre, right? Like you can do it. You're not going to be the top ever, but you sure as hell can be mediocre or perform in the arena. And I think having that mindset is far better to knowing that you will have to be perfect every time. Knowing that you can be in the arena and you're going to be a buffoon at any given moment in that particular arena, and people are going to make fun of you, they're going to laugh at you, like all of those things in your mind. People are making fun of you and laughing at you and all of those things. Or maybe, many of us have something, right? Like I'm thinking right now, if you come from another country and you move to a place that's English speaking, you're forever going to have an accent. And you're forever going to look a certain way that people are going to be like, man, you could stick it to all those people. Hey, like you can develop that thick skin, and it's not you against those other people. It's you against nature, right? Like your nature, your limit, your thing is the fact you'll always have that accent. I'm trying to learn Italian right now. Man, I'm going to speak broken Italian for the rest of my life. But I know I'm going to fight against that. I'm going to push against that repeatedly, just like everything else. I'm never going to be the fastest runner. I'm never going to be the fastest swimmer, but I'm going to repeatedly push against all the time for the rest of my life. And it's going to be this constant push, this constant striving. It's going to be important and define who I am and perhaps define who you are as well. That's the only way that you can make progress, is to know that pain and suffering, that mental anguish, all of those things, that's always going to be part of your life. And that's an important part of your life that you have to define yourself against so that you can think like, I can overcome it. I can do this. And I'm good at it. All right. Take care. Wonderful.